welcome back to the Splashcast, the Standard Fluids podcast, about kind of all things standard fluids, right? In the past, we've talked about the history of standard fluids and some of the chemical agents that we now sell today with the former 3M team that comprises our founders and our sales team and such. Today, we're going to talk a little bit more about kind of our internal operations and really get a glimpse of how we deliver fluid to our customers. And a big part of that is our value in standard fluids, right? Is making sure that we're there to support our customers along the way. I'm Nolan Mackey. I'm the internal projects manager and key account representative for fire protection. And today I'm with Jonathan Martinez, and Jonathan is our warehouse and logistics coordinator, manager extraordinaire. And Jonathan is joining me from our warehouse in Indiana. So how are you doing, Jonathan?
Thank you for having me, Nolan. Privileged
Yeah.
to be here, privileged to be with Standard Fluids, and excited to get this going. People get to know me a little bit better, get to know what we do and what we can provide for them.
Yeah, no, this is a funny and interesting recording, right? Because Jonathan and I talk probably at least 2 to 3 times a day, right? If we haven't spoken to each other at least once a day, then something's going wrong. Or in the case that we might touch on a little bit, Jonathan might be in a training session or something throughout the day, as
Yeah.
Jonathan is managing many things at our warehouse. And Jonathan's a bit out on an island of one up there. So we touch in pretty regularly and keep in touch with a lot of things, and that's typically good. We're moving a lot of orders. So if you want to start, Jonathan, kind of giving a bit of your story of how you came into Standard Fluids, right? Because we have a team of varied experience and background that have joined, lots of well-experienced career professionals in the industry of chemical sales and chemical manufacturing of things. But you and I are a bit the same, where we didn't have much of the experience that a lot of the people on our team had in this, but we're here doing the thing, right? And so
Yeah.
you have a really interesting background, so I'd love for you to kind of talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Nolan. I come from a logistic place completely different from here, not internationally. This is international at Standard Fluids, not just domestic in the US, it's all around the world, which is our goal to, have our product all over the world. Here, I used to work for a company called Universal.
Mm,
They were a third party logistics for Walmart and Sam's Club.
mm.
And I basically grew up there. I started there when I was 18. Um, I worked there for 13 years
Wow.
until last year in July. I
Yeah.
was there for 13 years, and I basically, like I said, I basically grew up there. I am who I am because of not just me growing up there, but the people who kind of, were involved in my life there,
Yeah.
managers, supervisors. And I started out as a temp,
Okay.
moving freight by hand,
Yeah.
so that kind of, it's kind of good, kind of interesting story that I worked my way up, freight handler by hand. Then I got forklift certified, and that was exciting for me, be able to drive a forklift. I thought I was the coolest,
Yeah.
kid. Able to show my forklift certification. I remember going home and telling my mom, and been so excited to be forklift certified and be able
Yeah.
to not just work by hand, but a little bit, a little bit more. Sitting down, not moving
Right.
60 pounds,
Yeah.
70 pounds, or heavier boxes, at a time. But I took that with pride. My goal was always to do. We were measured there different. And obviously, you grow as time goes. So when we first started, our goal was go, go, go. Let's get this trucks unloaded. And that was my goal. To be fair, sincerely honest, it was never perfect. Probably wasn't the, proper way,
Yeah.
safest way. Like I said, we grew up as a company too. Obviously as the years went by, safety procedures were put in place.
Mm.
Um, taking shortcuts were like cut off and stuff like that. So growing like that kind of, helped me mature in different ways. And
Yeah.
those procedures were going on where, when I first started driving a forklift, and I'm probably gonna break some OSHA,
Yeah.
a tell all right here, we're pushing pallets, 3, 4 pallets at a time into the door. And that was, fine. It wasn't as bad as we thought it was back in the day, but obviously as we grow as a company, we want to make sure what's best for not just us, but what the customers, because that's their product, that's Walmart's product.
Yeah.
We stopped doing that. We stopped, pushing the pallets. We got to make sure we scan certain procedures before we unloaded the trailer. Before it was just throw everything in and then we'll scan later.
Yeah.
And obviously that's the consequences of taking shortcuts. Those errors where like the truck will probably leave and I probably forgot to scan 2 pallets in there in my head. 19 years old. I'll just scan into the next one. And the supervisors too, like, oh, just scan the next one. It's okay. It's going to the same destination either way.
Right.
Same DC. So, and obviously, like I said, those things changes. So when the things change, I make sure that I change with that.
Yeah.
It's just not one of those things where like I took pride in that where, okay, you can't push 3 more pallets. Okay, no more pushing 3 pallets. I'll see someone else doing it. I'm not in a place to correct them. We're in the same level, but I make sure to let them know, like, I know it probably sounds like a little like, you know, I can pissing, but to the supervisor, but it was just the pride I took. I want to make sure
Yeah.
everything was done properly, stuff that I can control.
Yeah.
Obviously, there was a supervisor there. At the time, he was a supervisor. He ended up actually being the facility manager at the end there. Alex Catcher, he's kind of the guy that took me under his wing.
Mhm.
I owe him a lot. Everything kind of know as far as like supervisor, managing skills and life skills. It's because of him.
Yeah.
Um, I still keep in touch with him. I'll shoot him a text, and he saw that, so he promoted me from a forklift driver to a lead, and then from a lead, I was in charge of different sections. So it was divided into outbound or inbound. And then from there, I'll do different things. If I was in the outbound area, I was making sure closing the trailers systematically. So I got to able to not just drive a forklift anymore, but use the computers and learn
Yeah.
the system they have, the programs, their GFCS and their YMS, their yard management systems. And I was in charge of closing and opening trailers, making sure it's not the right trailer number in the door, make sure the carrier is correct, making sure people loading properly, left to right, high and tight. That was you know or quote, every time you're loading in high and tight, left to right, double stack if it can get double stack, triple stack if it can get triple stack, make sure everything cube per feet, so we want to make sure we had as much freight in there. So different challenges, obviously it's I think at that point I was like 20 years old
Yeah.
and, different challenges because you have a 20-year-old telling a 35-year-old,
Yeah.
36, 40, 50, hey, don't stack that there or double stack down stack that or break that down, and they get upset with you. And then you get the supervisor involved, and it's a little bit chaotic, stuff like that. Just part of logistics, working like that. So, and
It's fast paced.
Alex, yeah,
Things move quickly, and things have to move. They can't stop. Yeah.
correct. So after, proving that I can handle the outbound and inbound, having that good balance, knowledge of the product, knowledge of what my supervisor and my manager wanted. When I graduated from college, there was a supervisor position available. And I took it. And again, all thanks through Alex. He pushed me, he motivated me to go get it. He's like, you're young. And back then, 10 years ago, you didn't really see a lot of young supervisors in the logistics world. Supervisors were in their 40s, 50s, even
Mhm.
like, late 30s,
Yeah.
you barely saw any young supervisors. Nowadays, it's a little bit different. You can go to APF or, Dot Industries or Universals, you're hiring, 22, 23-year-olds, but back then it was different. So it was definitely different chapter in my life, a little hard. Again, same thing, 21,
Yeah.
telling grown adults,
Yeah. Right.
uh, hey, don't do this, do this. I need you, pull them to the side, give them a corrective action, letting them go,
Yeah.
walking them out. I remember the first time I had to let somebody go. He was under the influence,
Mm.
and sometimes you can tell. And
Yeah.
that's one of like the things about working at the logistics world. We had a lot of interested people working for us,
Yeah.
especially when we have temp agencies. We had temps. We didn't have a lot of company people back then.
Yeah.
Um, all temps, so people didn't really care, and they didn't really seem an issue with if you're driving a forklift and you come to work
Right.
intoxicated, whether it's alcohol or weed. You can
Yeah.
kill yourself or hurt someone
So,
else. Yep.
yeah.
And so I remember I was so scared my heart was spinning out, kind of like it is right now with this podcast. But again, just stuff like that kind of helped me throughout, and I was a supervisor for about 3 or 4 years, and I worked all three shifts. I remember starting at midnights
Mm,
first, so I was working 10 p.m. to 7:30 in the morning. I did
yeah.
that for about two years, and then I was on second shift for a while, and then eventually I got a training supervisor position at some point, right before I became an operations manager, which was the next level. So
Yeah.
training supervisor was pretty cool. I was in charge of training the new hires. So each week we'll have new hires. Now we'll go to either first or second shift, depending on the week, and I will introduce them to the company, tell them who we were and what we expect out of them, and go over the attendance policies and safety requirements, and making sure our what's valuable, what's what we need to communication, stuff like that, and show them the process. Show them how to scan a trailer, how to unload a trailer, how to load trailers. I work one on one with people. I work with 12 people at a time, and so that kind of helped me a lot. And I know I'm kind of taking a little bit long here on this, but I did a lot at Universal that
Yeah.
definitely helped to where I am. Then eventually I became an OM on, again, it was an OM position, and it was on third shift. And that was a little tough to take. I almost didn't take it because I was working first shift, and then like every other week I will work second shift, or once a month I will work second shift. And at
Yeah.
that point in my life, I was about to get married. So I was like, do I really want to start my marriage and me working nights? But I took a leap of faith. I think talked to my wife, and again, Alex Casher pushed me like, "Hey, this is a good opportunity for you. You're young. You did it before for 2 years as a supervisor. Was it as an OM? You'll be fine. So I took the position. I got the position, and again, kind of difference because at that point, I'm not just managing the warehouse. I'm managing supervisors.
Yeah.
So I gotta
Yeah.
make sure the supervisors are doing their jobs. I gotta make sure they're doing their reports, and any injuries or accidents. You gotta oversee that with them. And not only that, but you're one on one with the facility manager, and he's the one yelling at me now. And
Yeah.
before I used to see, so I get a different world.
Yeah.
Open my
Well,
perspective
and
to different things.
like you said, right? Every step, and now that you're in that operations management side of things, like you said, you were one of the youngest people to get into a supervisor position when you did, right? So again, now you're a couple steps above, and still probably have some supervisors that are reporting to
Right.
you
Yeah,
that
that
are
are bit.
years older than you, right? And so it's still a hard thing for you to kind of come to grips with, of like, how am I in this position, and you kind of start
Right.
fighting. But it's cool that Alex, your mentor of sorts. It sounds like he was definitely a mentor that helped guide you
Definitely.
and support you and everything. He definitely let you know that you were in the right position, and he wouldn't be promoting someone or helping get someone to this level if he didn't see something in you, right?
Yeah, and he also gave me some tough love too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'll be lying to you, willing to admit if he didn't make me cry a few times. And I know that's probably weird for me to admit, and you could probably cut that off.
No, no, not
But
at all.
these are like, it's true. There's
Yeah,
times where I let him down. I didn't make the right decisions, or I let something slide, or, in order for me to, like, as a supervisor or even manager, let's, try to reach a certain goal or a certain quota for the day. And it's kind of like, okay, that's fine, do that real quick, and that's obviously the wrong mentality to have, not perfect, being honest. Um, and it's one of those things where he will let me know if I made something a bad decision. He'll give me tough love.
yeah,
Him and at that point the facility manager John Sajewski, same thing. Both of them were like father figures to me. So like I said, 'cause I grew up there, I knew them for
yeah,
in the last 13 years of my life, and eventually I was an OM on third shift, an OM on second shift, and then about 2 years ago, right before the facility closed down, I was first shift. So I was living the life. I was an
Yeah.
OM, first shift, working 6 a.m. to 3. You know, at that point, I think my daughter was born too, so it was, it was good.
Yeah.
And they approached us on around February of last year, 2024, saying, "Hey, the location's gonna close.
Yeah.
Not sell the company Universal. We're gonna close, and we're gonna start letting people go. We might keep a few people here, and kind of." I was gutted, I was a bit sad. I was heartbroken. I was like, man, what am I gonna do? It's not just about Universal, but my family.
Yeah.
I
Were
got a
you always at the same DC from the
yes,
beginning? Okay.
yes.
Yeah. So I
And
mean, that place was a second home for you.
it
Yeah.
was, and there was days where we worked 6 days because we were so backed up.
Yeah.
So you can only imagine working 6 days on nights. I got there Monday night and I left Sunday morning. So, um, so yeah, it was hard to hear. My head's kind of like going to different places. Like, man, resume, am I gonna be, going to a different place and start something new, complete
Yeah.
different process? Like, man, I knew this stuff like that. The
Yeah.
DCs, the how to fix, supervisors. So people are like, hey, this come up. Well, that's easy. Just do A, B, and C. And I will walk them through it. And it's kind of like I had issues that I didn't know, but and I will ask for help but I'm not trying to put myself here in put myself up high, but towards the end, it was kind of like piece of cake, I could do it on my sleeve, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when that happened, we started letting people go. Eventually, we cut down shifts. Third shift was the first one to go. Second shift, eventually, I was on first shift, and they did offer me some relocation packages to North Carolina, Texas. The closest one to us was Racine, Wisconsin.
Mm.
Um, again, but again, family. I had my wife. We can't just uproot everybody and go to a different state. We
Yeah.
have
Well,
family
and
members.
by this point, you had your second daughter, right? So
Correct. Yes.
I mean, and that's where like family really starts coming in, right? And
Yeah.
you have family close by, and yeah, uprooting yourselves to go move for a job is a really big scary thing. Yeah, that's crazy.
And they kept me. I was one of like it was me, the facility manager, Alex Casher, and the assistant facility manager, David Kowski. It was just us three at the end, plus like one maintenance guy. So they're like, okay, the regional manager Stacy, he worked at Universal too as an OM. He was actually the first OM at Universal. He came from Detroit.
Wow.
And Stacy was, you know, again, we don't want to lose you. Um, think about it. And then they had a traveling manager position open
Yeah.
where I would travel to different facilities, South Carolina, again, just all across the U.S. where we have facilities and kind of work with them.
Yeah.
Whether it was train supervisors or go and do what they tell me to do. But
A
again,
lot
I'll
of
be,
responsibility. Yeah.
yeah, I'll be gone. Again, my family, like you
Yeah.
said, my daughter was just born, Valentina, the youngest. It would be unfair for my wife to leave, not just my two daughters, but my marriage.
Yeah.
Marriage
Right.
is not good if I leave Sunday to Thursday. I'm not
Yeah.
none of my only spending time with my kids, but my wife, which is one of like my main priority, my priority in my life.
Yeah.
So it was a hard no. And then they kept me there. So the facility manager, Alex, and Dave, they're still with the company. They're still doing the traveling because they haven't opened up anything yet in Hammond.
Yeah.
Uh, so they're actually doing that, but they kept me there for like another 3 weeks just by myself at the Hammond.
Yeah.
Everybody's gone. So they kind of had me just watching the place, like, okay,
You're like security.
security.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Right.
that was kind of nice of them. And it's the same thing. Stacy was, have you thought about it? It's just them trying to like not convince me, just wanted to stay. And eventually I had to say no, like I'm not gonna do it. And then okay, then they can't keep me there, just
Right.
not doing nothing, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
obviously during that time I took my time to resume. I did a few interviews there.
And
So
it was during that time that Conrad got in touch with you, right?
Correct. So the way that happened was um, after 13 good years at Universal, um, we had a temp agency called Nexus there, Nexus Employment Solutions.
Yeah.
My sister-in-law works for them. She is some sort of sales reps at that point where she will go to like different companies and hey, we want to, put our people here and get employees for you, and then eventually you can hire them as a company
Right.
to the company. And the funny thing is, that's our warehouse right now in Portage.
Right.
They're right two doors down.
Yeah.
Their office. So Nexus is two doors down. And I remember asking Conrad, like, hey, how did you find out about, me? And he literally saw that Nexus Employment Solution sign and he walked in, knocked on the door, and then asked for someone to help him with, finding a warehouse manager.
Yeah.
And they directed him to Molly, which is my sister-in-law. And
Yeah.
from there, Molly's like, oh, I got the right guy for you. And Molly contacted me, put me and Conrad together. I came out here and talked to Conrad once, and that was good. I like what he mentioned, what was the, purpose here, and not only that, but different things that he mentioned, like the family values, the experience that you guys brought um, here as a company. And it was one of those things where like, okay, and I have like other interviews I'm doing as well. It's not just, standard fluids. Towards the end, it was standard fluids and someone else
Yeah.
that I have, offer letters. And the other place, you know, this is a place to be, honest right here. It was more money, more, a little more lubricant as far as like some different things.
Yeah.
And I just felt, I prayed about it. I talked to my wife, and
Yeah.
it's one of those things where I felt like God was telling me, go with this one right now. It's a
Yeah.
different challenge.
Yeah.
Um, one of the challenges that I like here is like one of the things that I saw was I wasn't going somewhere where there was, how can I phrase this? Not necessarily, when I came in, Standard Fluids had structure. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
Right.
they not going to a place where like this is what you need to do, A, B, C, and then this report A, B, C, and then this, make sure this safety thing is here.
Yeah.
Here is like I need to create that checklist. I need to make sure I create that checklist to not only you know benefit Standard Fluids, but
Right.
satisfies the customers and you know balance both of them out. So it was like, you know what, I want to challenge myself.
Yeah.
So
No, and
I decided to take Standard Fluids.
that really kind of summarizes how pretty much all of us have gotten here, right? You've gotten to hear so many of the stories
Yeah.
from everyone, and for me and some of my background was like I worked in the fire industry. I've worked in environments like you've talked about, not to the scale of the warehouses that you were in, but in environments that had procedures and processes that you were kind of following that maybe at times didn't feel, super structured and safe, right? But you're following the guy that's been doing it for years and that's how he's always done it, type of thing. Um, but, for me, it was, coming out of college and trying to figure out what I was going to do. I knew I was going to end up working and supporting the fire industry in some way, but my goal was I always wanted to be a part of like building something, right? And
Mhm.
you are coming from a background of you saw how you can apply your effort and your skills to continue to grow and develop, right? I think it was cool that you mentioned getting your forklift certification, right? To you, like the way you talked about it, you're like, it was a cool thing that you're like, I gotta get to sit down while I work and everything. But I think what I realized is like you realized that you now had a skill. Like you had something to show, you had a skill that like no one else could take away from you. Yeah, you have that, you know how to do it, and that's like super valuable. And that brings value into something else. It was a key thing for us in looking for a warehouse manager for Standard Fluids was having someone who was forklift certified who knew how to do those things because we knew we needed that. And for everyone coming into Standard Fluids, it was a leap of faith, right? It's
Yeah.
starting and creating something new, but where it really all comes together is taking everyone's individual perspective, their unique experience that they have, and plugging it into the piece that we need, right? The missing piece that we're looking for. Um, I know when I first started back in 2023, it was I started at Standard Fluids in September, October timeframe. I got married in December, right? So you can understand that same thing of like, oh gosh, getting into a new role in a position like with a growing family, you having, two daughters and your wife and taking that leap of faith for me, I at least I'll say my wife has seen I've gone through several startups of my own, and she's seen how that goes, and I've certainly gotten the questions from her family of what is it exactly you work on now, right? Because it's always changed over time. So, but it really was a leap of faith that was like, all right, cool. I'm gonna jump into this because someone has seen a value here, right? It was a relationship that I had with Rory Quirk, one of our co-founders and vice president, and Rory, brought me into the conversation saying, "Hey, we need someone to help drive our internal projects and build some processes that help us, continue to run the business, as efficiently as we can as we grow and develop." And to me, that was the cool, exciting thing. Like you talked about, it's like, all right, cool. I get to come into something where I've got about 5 or 6 bullet points of do this, do this, do this, do this, but there's no bullet points under it to say how to do it, right? It's we've got to get this done and we've got to find a way to do it. And it's an exciting, but it's a nerve-wracking thing. I I give you so much credit for being, dedicated to the point of being at that warehouse by yourself, right? You're in Indiana in a warehouse district, right? There's not a whole lot of exciting things to be found in Portage, Indiana necessarily. But it's been awesome, and the opportunities we've had to work together to create and build a lot of the things that we
Mhm.
do around our inventory management, our logistics planning. You are the connector between our customers, our accounting team, our logistics partners that we work with and everything, and you really bring it all together to continue delivering these things. And um, I think and I would love to hear what your thoughts are on. You have spent, like you said, 13 years in a warehouse, seeing goods come and go between trucks that are being exchanged between distribution centers or stores at end locations. But now you're seeing like global logistics and dealing with timelines that aren't, I guess it's a question. What was the quickest turnaround for a truck in your warehouse at uh, Universal or United?
Universal.
Universal. Sorry, I get it
So
confused.
as soon as it got here from the vendor, as soon as it hit the gate,
Hmm.
our dwell time was it had to be under 12 hours. So we
Yeah.
had to unload that truck under 12 hours. Not necessarily ship the product, but unload it under 12 hours. And
Yeah.
we were pretty good at what we did as far as unloading goes. Our unloading was perfect. Not perfect, but our unloading was top notch. We were number one out of all like there was five other warehouses that did the same thing, third party for Walmart and Sam's Club, because Universal had other things. We did car parts for BMW. We had contracts with construction equipment, but like as far as like the Walmart and Sam's Club world goes,
Yep.
there's only five locations, and we were number one. All the way that I worked there, that they kept track of that stuff, and so our dwell time was 12 hours.
Yeah.
So normally it depends, working. There was times where there was trucks there that dwell over 84 hours. That's what we call peak season, where we were getting over 250 plus trucks a day.
Wow.
Well, per shift, we're supposed to be unloading 75
Yeah.
trucks. Um, and there's times where, again, I'm not boasting myself here, but I helped, the record. My shift, one of the shifts I did on third shift, we were the first one to see 100 when we unloaded 100 trucks. Was it pretty? I mean, I'll be lying to you if I said yes.
Yeah.
Unloading 100 trucks with 40 plus employees, certain, spotters and stuff like that. It's all chaotic, and that's kind of like what I loved about Universal. We did the same thing every single day, same
Yeah.
procedures, but we were organizing chaos
Yeah. Yeah.
because it was, you didn't have enough employees.
Right.
You know, our spotters or yard switchers, you don't have yard switchers to keep up with the moves you put in the queue, and you're screwed. So what do? You got to start calling in. If I was on second shift, hey, first shift guys, do you want to stay over? I got two spotters that call off.
Yeah.
Need somebody to stay over. Start calling third shift spotters in. Hey, you guys want to get in extra a little early? Come in at 7, work 7 to 7, 12-hour shifts. Come in at 9, start preparing for so it was always organized chaos, um, which was made it exciting, the
Yeah.
same thing every day, but for some reason, different speed bumps. And that's
Yeah.
kind of
How does
like the
that
biggest.
translate now to
Well,
the,
it went from 200 plus doors to one.
yeah, right,
You got
right.
one dock here, but it's different change of pace.
Hmm.
Obviously, it's not time consuming. Obviously, I'm not sitting on the product here. Our goal is to get it to the customers, as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Um, which is one thing that I think we're pretty good at. The salespeople in here when they're communicating, they receive a certain PO order or a sample request. It's not only saying, okay, they're requesting this. Today's the 11th. They're requesting a sample by the 30th.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I got 2 weeks to do it. Why sit on it?
Right. Yeah.
What? Just get it out, get it done. They get it sooner. They see the sales, can the sell people or sell rep can communicate with the person. Hey, this is going out in your way. And sure, we don't see it, but I'm almost certain, they're like, man, that was quick.
Yeah.
I'm almost guaranteed they're saying that if they get it right away. Same thing
Right.
with the POs when we control it, obviously there's certain procedures that we do here that were in place, but not only that, but the quality.
Hmm.
It's not just do it quick, get it out the door, boom. We
Yeah.
want to make sure product is wrapped properly, make sure it's clean, the tools we use. I check those, it's been a little slow here lately because of the terrorists, and I'm pretty sure we'll get to that down the
Right.
road. But when there was a little period of time where we're getting, left and right, making sure the equipment is clean,
Yeah.
making
Not
sure
making and
we
filling samples and stuff like that. And yeah, yeah. Yeah, 'cause it's worth mentioning that, you're not just managing, already prearranged, prepackaged product. There's things that, we receive fluid in 55-gallon drums, and we're packaging it down to smaller sizes depending on a customer's needs and everything. And you're playing scientist a little bit as far as,
just a little bit. A little
yeah.
sciences and I get a little workout in too because I gotta pump the fluid. We
Right.
don't have anything where it does it automatically or like we have to manually pump the fluid. And
Yep.
I mean, you've been here, you know how that is.
Yeah.
So I got one hand on the hose and I got the other hand here, and I'm pumping a little bit and making sure everything's good, looking at the scale, make sure it's properly um at the way it needs to be with the fluid, and make sure everything's good, properly packaged. And
Yeah.
not only that, but setting up the pickup afterwards,
Yeah.
cleaning up, so it's a little bit different, but it's good, different just different perspective, which is a
Yeah.
good
No, and
again.
it's a totally different animal, but it's still an animal nonetheless, right? It's
Correct.
you've seen, and like you said, I mean, unloading 100 trucks a day or in a shift, right? Not even in a day.
Yeah,
That's just in
in a
one
shift.
shift. Um, to now getting like an understanding of how some like the global logistics of things work, right? And overcoming some of the challenges that we face when it comes to lead times and delivery times, trying to get those as accurate as we can, right? And understanding the difference of an ocean transit timeline to a rail transit timeline to an over-the-road truck timeline, and how we see this world that we live in, and how we can go and buy something off Amazon and get it in 2 days, right? But to see how that works on the back end, and see it as not just a truck coming in that's being unloaded, and you're scanning and managing the inventory that comes off of it, but having to manage and understand where we have truckloads of fluid that are getting ready to be offloaded from a ship and having to manage the communication from someone who's thousands of miles away, right? And not being able to like put eyes on it exactly. It
Time
really
zones.
it it has to and I this was a conversation I had just the other day where I think one, we keep saying nothing's perfect, right? But it's because what we're operating on today is an evolution of what we were operating on almost a year ago when you started with us, right? We didn't have all of these systems in place for, order management or even the accounting management side of
Mhm.
things, right? It's taken a lot to build it, and we're starting to get to the point where I I feel we can really trust and depend on some of our systems that we have in place for information. Um, and building that has been, you and I working together to put a lot of those things in place. And I think we're still adding columns to our Monday dashboard.
We're still growing.
Yeah,
It's always room for improvement. I think that's one key value about us. We have a new procedure in place, and we just like okay, and that's it. We don't do that. Like if there's a place where we can add a certain thing to, you know, for example, like a customer, like, hey, do you guys do this? Like, no, we don't. So we can go back to our procedure, like, how will this benefit us? Is it just this one customer, or is it gonna attract or satisfy other customers as well? So it's one of those things where like we're always trying to involve, and
right.
that's one thing that I like about us. It's not just here's the procedure, boom, that's it. Put it in the closet, never look at it again. No, it's all right. Now we evaluate that procedure down the road, or like I mentioned, customer brings something up. Do you guys do this? No, but let's look into it. And if it's beneficial, it helps, it works. It's not gonna add any like more confusing or extra steps that's unnecessary, then let's do it.
Yeah, one of the biggest things was how we manage and deliver some of our like files to customers, right? Because of how quickly we try to move things out or what have you. We have a whole folder of, all of the order details, all of our data sheets that have to accompany the orders. And one of the biggest things that we do and the biggest value behind our products and our brand is our certificate of analysis and managing and making sure that those are all shared. And we've had different requests from customers to have that delivered in different ways. And ultimately, we realized, all right, it's easier for us. We're already managing all of these files, right? And you're managing a lot of these files to pull them all together into a single folder. And then all that needs to happen to transfer that information over is, you email the sales rep and our accounting team that, hey, this order is good to go. These is the completed documentation package for it. Customer set to receive it. Go ahead and share it in your appropriate channels, right? So you bundle it up in like a perfect package for all the sales guys and everything, and it gets to get sent off to them, and customer gets all the information that they need. We have the peace of mind of we've gathered in some cases probably more information than what they need. But there's a transparency there, and there's communication there that is a really big value that we try to do with all of our customers. So yeah,
And
it's
that's always good. The
yeah,
more
yeah.
we can provide, the more, like you said, transparency we have
Mhm.
with them, the less they're gonna come back and like, hey, I'm missing this. Or
Right,
hey, do you guys have this? Like, here's everything. And if they do come back, we're there to help them out.
right. Yeah, so we've done a lot in a year. It is crazy to say that it has almost been a year. And funny enough, when you first started at Standard Fluids, we all had our annual sort of strategic planning meeting at the warehouse, and we're planning to do that again here in the next month or so, which will be exciting, right, for you to have some company there and have the warehouse office be a little bit busy. You might have to find some more tables and chairs for us, but what are you talked about how this was an exciting opportunity to come in and build some things, right? Looking at it right now, and you can talk a little bit about some of the training stuff that you just went through as well. what are the things that looking forward for like kind of the next year that you're excited to build and be a part of as we're growing and as we're seeing more orders, we're having more customers come on board, right? It's going to be a lot more logistics and product fulfillment demand on you. And this is again another opportunity for you to build something that you interact with that delivers value. So
Make it our own. I agree with that. One of the things for sure, not just the dock layout here in the warehouse, potentially growing and maybe moving to a bigger place, where we need bigger room. But the main thing right now is the ISO 9001 project that we have going on here at Standard Floats right now.
yeah,
So we're in the process of getting our organization, Standard Fluids, certified ISO 9, like get an 9000 ISO 9001 certification. And
yeah,
I think that would be amazing, and the fact that Lewis and the Standard Float teams, put that pressure on me, put that,
bit of pressure.
and it's not just me, responsibility. It's on, you're helping out too, which, I appreciate. Um, the trust they put down on me, is that, cause that's nothing like easy, that we're doing to get it, ISO 9001 certified. It's just in saying that, we get to do that, you know, not only is it gonna benefit us, but it's gonna hope, it is going to, satisfy our customers. It's gonna give them that extra, peace in mind.
Right.
Like, okay, not now that we know that, they're a good company, they communicate a lot, they're trustworthy, they have experience, you
Mhm.
know, you guys mentioned this before, but we have you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but the engineer or the chemist, that
Right.
created or made the product, the proper terms. I'm not, a little bit out of my role, a little bit from my perspective, which I'm learning
Right.
the
Yeah.
engineer fire suppression fluid terms and stuff like that.
Right.
Uh, that's one of like the scary things, side note, I came in and I'm in a room, like you mentioned last year, I'm
Yeah.
in a room full of like engineers and chemists and people who are, I'm not trying to belittle myself here, but smart. And I was like,
Yeah.
man, I'm out of my league here. This is the show. I'm over here playing the minor leagues, universal, and obviously different perspective, but I
Yeah.
like the confidence, and the positivity that Lewis gave me. It's one of those things where like this is our role. It's our role in on one, but like
Mm.
the engineer, like this is our. Let's get started. This is yours. That's what we
Yeah.
came to you. So you
Yeah.
can handle the logistics. Obviously, I still want to learn some of the engineer, and I am.
Yeah.
But back to this ISO certification is one of those things where like it's going to benefit us.
Right.
Not only are we going to give the customer peace of mind, but it's going to help us grow. Where the processes, our values, our commitment to the product, and not only that to our customers. So I'm excited, for us to continue on that path, and you know, I'm hoping by the end of this year, or if not early next year for sure, 2026, Standard Fluids, Corporation is going to be a ISO 9001 certified body.
Yeah. That's
You
it.
know, to
It's
have
cool.
that
And
stamp,
yeah, yeah. No,
it's
and
exciting.
I
It's
think when
cool. I'm like, let's go.
when we started on the path, and again, it fell to you, and you're running and driving it, and it's been exciting to see and work with you as you're continuing to learn and develop, this perspective of ISO 9001. Because when when I first kind of started hearing about it is because our independent third party lab that does our quality testing for our fluid, they're ISO 9001 certified, right? And it was kind of like, okay, cool. I know that's a quality assurance thing, right? And it's a way that they deliver quality to their customers just like us.
Yeah, a
But
QMS system, basically. Yeah.
yeah, but it was like I didn't really have a good understanding of what went into it and sort of the layers of preparation and planning as you're learning the many layers. Um, but it makes so much more sense, right? Now, whenever we receive our certificate of analysis from the lab, right? I I can visualize how it went through their process, right? And I know, like, all right, they received it, they brought in the inventory and recorded the inventory, and then, assigned all the documentation to it. That moved through the process that they've outlined for it, and then the proper, communication to the customer at the end when the analysis was done. it all works together really well, and it's something that we certainly need at Standard Fluids to add some structure. Again, you're seeing the goods come and go, and there's a lot of management beforehand and afterwards, and it's all comes down to how we operate with quality at the forefront of what we're doing. The quality in the product, the way it's been developed and how we assure that product is there is one thing, but we can add a layer there of how do we deliver that quality to the customer in the best way possible.
Correct.
Yeah. It's interesting because there's the process itself, there's the auditing and there's the managing of it. And if there were probably, even just half a dozen people at the warehouse, there would be different people wearing those hats, but it's you. It's you writing the procedures, it's you who'll be doing the internal audit, and it'll be you
All
that's
line up to the T, yeah. So
yeah.
it's a little challenging, and
Yeah.
it's exciting. I just got done with the classes, just like mentioned. I,
Yeah.
I did um internal class about 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
where it took me through the fundamentals of the ISO 9001, then the internal auditor and the lead auditor, which is pretty exciting. I actually have my
You get your
certificate.
certificate on
I
the
hang
wall, I
up
was
my
gonna say.
certificate,
Yeah.
'cause
Yeah.
one of the things that I'm proud of. I take pride in that. We're like, man, I'm excited. This is not just my baby, it's our baby. In
Yeah,
a
yeah.
way, we're implementing this into our company,
Right.
and like we said before, multiple times, where it's just going to help us grow.
Mhm.
It's definitely not in to go in the wrong direction. Just got to take us 2 steps ahead. So
Right.
instead of taking one right now, we're taking two with this
Yeah.
certification. So it's exciting times, and like I said, hopefully the end of this year or 2026 for sure, we're going to be certified.
Yeah. No, I have no doubts that we'll be at least doing an internal audit for it by the end of this year. And first orders and first things that we start managing next year will be falling underneath it. And one thing that I think is a good topic for us to talk about that you mentioned briefly, but was that sense of pride, but also, the nervousness of the team of people that we have putting some trust in you, right? And kind of learning some of the gravity of what everyone at our organization has done in their careers, and how now you're in a position where you're owning a sphere of influence in this organization, right? You're owning the logistics and the order fulfillment, and that's a huge. If we didn't have that, we wouldn't be delivering anything to customers, right? That's one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle, and it's a very unique challenge to be in. And you and I have talked about it before a couple of times. It's something that I've always kind of struggled with through my career, if we'll call it that, because I've always been involved in kind of startup stuff like this, but feeling like you are out of place, right? And that how is it that people are trusting me or you to be in this position to do these things? But it's exciting, and it puts us in the position of we're at a new company building something new that will be here for a long time, and who knows what this is going to turn into, right?
Big. The
Yeah.
best is yet to come. I'm telling you, yeah, something big. Again, side note, like I don't know if you remember, last year when everyone was here,
Yeah.
we had a safety guy come over here from Nexus. Not
Mhm.
only is he like their safety, advisor or whatever his
Right.
position is, but he's also like an accountant, and he does like different things. And um, my sister-in-law, Molly, the guy's like pretty smart with this kind of stuff, and she told him like these people, they know what they're doing. Like this company is gonna go places.
Yeah.
So he was telling her to tell me like stick with them. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
gonna take
Yeah.
you places. And when she told me like that was like a little like okay, a little bit of relief at that point. We're like, okay, did I make the right decision to jump over here?
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, it's insane.
Yeah. It's a lot, and there's all kinds of dynamics at play, right? And that's the fun of a startup and of a new company is it's kind of figuring out how all those things fall into place. I know you've found yourself in various conversations. You've found yourself in meetings where we're talking about, chemistry and different products, right? Which is like it's
Curveball. That's yeah.
oh yeah, no, and it's hard to, especially when you get Steve Pignato in a conversation and that guy starts rattling off, different chemistry terms. You can't even keep up with what's going on. But it's those are fascinating, unique things. I'm like, okay, I want to learn and understand this. Then there's the other side of it where it's like in, financial meetings with, our accounting team or our financial partners on things. Those are different altogether, right? And they play a huge role in our
Mhm.
logistics. And there's times that's like, all right, you're trying to move an order and we're waiting for certain approvals or authorizations, make sure that, a shipping partner or whoever is getting paid and handled on time so that our shipments aren't being held up. And it's times like that where you're gaining the knowledge to understand what's going on, but we still have the people in place that you can rely on to get it done, right? We have those accounting people, and for me, I don't pretend to know anything about logistics, but I know how our logistics work, right? And you know every nut and bolt and every contact to talk to get it all together, and you probably know all the shipment weights, off the top of your head automatically, and the different, end destinations for customers that we deliver to on a regular basis, and some of their team that we have to communicate with. It's fun to get to that point, and we're really finding our footing as Standard Fluids of we have a team, we've got the team dynamic figured out, and we know where we lean on one another for different things and how we wear different hats and we can call on each other to help out with different things.
Right. Without
And
overstepping.
yeah, yeah, exactly. There's a lot of great things that are going to come out of that as we continue to grow and develop. Um, and yeah, it's good. So I'm trying to see what else do we have to discuss. Um, one thing that we glossed over real briefly, but is the challenges of global logistics is global trade wars, right? And how different politics and everything will come into play. And sometimes overnight, the amount of importing or exporting goods can more than double, right? And that certainly throws a wrench in things. So, what's been your perspective on all of that, and how we've handled it, and maybe how we handle it? Should it happen again in the future? Hoping it doesn't.
It's definitely challenging. Obviously dealing with tariffs, that's one of like the main things right now. Obviously, importing, like you said, trying to get stuff from, whether it's across the sea or over the sea over here to our
Yeah.
customers. It's one of the things where you can only control what you can control,
Right.
and the stuff that we can't control is just kind of like daily check-ins where like, all right, does this thing change? Did this law go through, or did the presidency, the president did this change? And now that we have like, do we jump on this or wait on it? That's kind of like it keeps us on our toes
Yeah.
in a certain way. We're like, okay, we gotta make sure, and kind of helps us come up with a plan A, plan B, and plan C. You
Mhm.
know, as many plans as we need, whether it's relying on a customer like, here, we have your product, but we're dealing with this issue. Like we're communicating that
Yes.
with the customer. So one of the things we're like, I can't, express enough. We're like, kind of keeps us on our toes, where we have to
Yeah.
do daily, whether it's daily check-ins with each other, whether it's daily check-ins with with the team, where you guys have like the day-to-day sales calls, at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day. That kind of
Right.
helps us with that kind of stuff. Me and you checking in, our Monday meetings, stuff like that, where it's just helping each other grow and deal with this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
going on around the world.
Right.
Stuff that's out of control. We can't, as much as we want to, we're like cut the tariff fees, or we want to make sure
Yeah.
like, hey, stop this, or do the like couple weeks, months ago. I mean, this is still going on with the strike with the
Yeah.
rails.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
Right.
affected us.
Right.
We still, thank God, we still made some deliveries, and we were able to like fulfill our some orders, but it definitely affected us. It's
Right.
like, what can we do? We're not there. We're not
Yeah.
there physically where we want to like, hey, put this container that has our product in now.
Yes.
But it's just like we again organized chaos.
Yeah, it is. It
We're,
is
we're,
organized chaos.
we're organizing that.
And we have to tell ourselves and everyone has to tell themselves that they aren't the only one experiencing the challenge, right? That's I think the biggest thing of all of it. And like you touched on, which I think is a really, really good point, is maintaining constant communication with our partners and those that we work with in our logistics side of things, where if a shipment that we're trying to get moving is on the cusp of a timeline, right, making sure that they're aware of that. And I know it was when tariff costs go up, right, what became the easiest thing to do was scheduling a shipment, right, because no one wanted to ship anything, right? So it became really easy to do that. And now one of the things that we're looking at is we're more than, at the time of recording this, we're more than 30, 40 days out from the next tariff deadline. And for most global logistics, they operate on 30 to 45-day timelines for things. So we're starting to see bookings are getting harder to make and harder to schedule to get things out because companies are trying to get their goods in and make sure their timelines are handled before that possibility even happens. And we'll probably see in 2 to 3 weeks we'll have any open booking we want because everyone's moved so much stuff beforehand that there's going to be this kind of lull period to take advantage of. And it's really hard to manage or those things if we don't communicate properly. And
Right.
so making sure that we keep detailed tools. Our internal management tool or management system that we use is Monday.com for project management, for customer contact management, for order and inventory management. And the biggest benefit of that tool is just communication, right? There's I infinite ways to communicate whatever you want to on there. And you and I just talked today about how we can just have emails automatically update those on there so that now we don't have to take an email communication with an outside partner and copy the details of the email and paste it into the update for whatever item we're managing. You can just email it to it, right? Which makes things a little bit easier, right? We
Cool.
learned
Yeah, it
something and,
does.
and now we have
It
another,
clicks.
yeah, right. Quick and easy. Um, well, I think it's cool. Everything that you've been able to do at Standard Fluids. I think it's been certainly an interesting ride. Again, less than a year with all of the stuff that's changed from the amount of inventory
Next month will be a year, so
yeah,
it's
that's
exciting.
it is. It is very exciting. And coming from the perspective of we'll say the younger guys, right? Uh, in our organization, we have a lot to look forward to, I think. There's a lot that we get to build, and for me as kind of the you know internal operations and seeing how our internal projects of how we continue to develop and grow our processes for things, it's exciting to look at what we've built in a year from what we were a year ago, to the amount of business that we're able to do today on our current systems with everything in place, and to think about the fact that the business we conduct today on the system that we have isn't going to be the system that we're going to have in 2, 3, 5, 10 years, right? And that's because the business is going to grow. We're going to grow.
Technology is gonna grow. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's. But that's the thing. That's the beauty about us, Standard Fluids and people who in the future are gonna join us. We're not a team not a group of people who are compliant, that we are always looking to
Yep.
improve. We're good,
Yep.
you know. I think I was reading a book last time, and it's something like great leaders don't succeed because they're great. Great leaders succeed because they bring the great out of
Yes.
others. And I feel
Yes.
like that's something that we do really good. Whether it's just me and you communicating with you constantly, our president, Lewis,
Right.
I'm gonna kiss his butt here a little bit, but he does that really great. And not only is he like just not necessarily pointing to this or that, but he gets involved,
Mm.
which is one of the things that I like. One of the things that brings me, man, I did the right decision joining Standard Fluids.
Yeah.
He would be like, let me know if I need to jump on a call with you guys and the customer. He's willing to get his hands dirty in a way, and he's doing other works behind. And then it's not just him; it's just the people like that work for us. Everybody,
Well,
everybody's doing their own thing, but we're pushing each other. Like, Kelvin, I I will work with you if you want. We can sit an hour and I'll go over with you what the products is, what the products are. Like, I'll teach you. Steve, um, Pignato, like, hey, I'll teach you how to do sales stuff, and stuff like that. Like, cool, I'm soaking it all in right now, you know, Paul, it's just everybody involved in our company, it's
yeah.
stuff we make each other great. We always post each other up, never bring each other
It's
down, which I think I like.
even though we're, an organization of, at most 10 people, right?
And
It
individual working alone though, it's like I know like I work here by myself at our house, but in reality, all you guys are.
Yeah, no, we're
We're all
all. I mean, I always talk about the how spread out we are as an organization, right? We have Jonathan, the warehouse manager, in the warehouse in Indiana. We have Paul Rivers, our lead technical advisor and, patent holder extraordinaire for these chemical products up in Minnesota, right? We've got Lewis, our president, down in Miami. We have Kelvin in Puerto Rico, who does international Latin American sales and operations. We have Steve up in Pennsylvania that he, does our engineered fluids sales. We have Conrad in Boston who helps with our, internal strategy stuff. We have Kamal who does our
uh,
sales out over in the Middle East, and we have Rory who helps with our stuff
yeah,
in Asia.
yeah,
We're spread out, and I'm down in Alabama, right? We're all over the place, and with the exception of you, myself, and Paul, everyone else is in a different time zone, right?
yeah.
We're that spread out, right? And so meeting times change and fluctuate all the time, and it's a really fun dynamic thing, and it works. We're able to be doing the things we're doing because everyone is committed to the goal of delivering the best quality guaranteed fluids to the customers in the market that demand it. And that is a huge goal that matters a lot because the other suppliers and manufacturers for these products out there, they don't have the expertise to guarantee it like we do, and they don't have the team of people that are as committed to this as we are. That's a huge thing, right? And not to bring it back up in maybe a bad way, but you talked about how when you received that harsh criticism, how that made you emotional, right?
Yeah, maybe.
But I won't lie that there are times here at Standard Fluids that, right, there's a lot going on and it's stressful and there's a lot of communication happening back and forth and we're juggling a lot of things. But and I realize when I get emotional about those things, it's like, man, I'm emotional because I care about this, right? If I didn't get emotional about this, if the going got tough and my first reaction was like, oh, okay, I need to step away and I need to, take a vacation or whatever, right? Then I wouldn't be in the right space, right? We wouldn't be doing the right things. If we didn't get emotional, we didn't get caught up in these things and strive to make them as best as we could, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be doing this, right? And having a team of people that get involved the way they do at Standard Fluids shows we're all committed. We're all dedicated and motivated to make this happen. And yeah, it's a good thing. It's a really, really good thing. So, and I'm just excited we were able to bring you into Standard Fluids craziness a year ago. Excited for what we're going to be able to build and continue to grow and develop and everything. And yeah, and looking forward to seeing you in like the next month or so. I know as we start planning
Less
out
than a
those
month.
events and everything. Yeah, less than a month, right? As we start planning those things, I know kind of getting that company culture reignited a little bit more is going to be a big thing, right? We have the culture remotely and virtually where we're all there to step up to bat to help each other out whenever we need it. But to be able to be there to actually shake hands,
Shop. Yeah,
yeah,
shake
talk
hands.
shop and maybe give each other just as much of a hard time in person as we do over the phone. We'll see. I think some people might be a little bit shy to in person, right? If they can't hide behind a camera. But calling out Steve there. Steve's the one who's always the cannonball Steve, as we call him. So I think this was a good conversation. It's great to hear and know your perspectives. Obviously, you and I talk all the time, but I think it's important for our customers, the
Yeah,
markets that we serve, to know more about you, know more about the role you play in Standard Fluids, and that you're a familiar face that's going to be around for a long time. And as we continue to grow these things, you'll continue to be around. And if uh, if anyone ever needs someone to call on for questions around an order or support with documents that back up an order or something, now they know who they're talking to when they
yeah.
go for that.
And please do. That's the thing. The transparency, like we said, communication is very important here.
Yeah,
And we're just a call,
right.
they know that customers, they mainly call the sales rep, obviously, as just chain of command, but
Yeah.
they can call me too. I'm here. I'm available for them, open for them to anything I can, you know, be of, service of,
Yep.
so
Yeah.
yeah, we're excited. We're building great things here.
Yes. Yes.
Not
We
just
are.
for us, but for our customers, the world, and
Yeah.
everybody that comes on board. We're building that foundation.
Right. Yeah. No. We're growing. We're changing. We're doing a whole lot of things really really fast, and we're doing it so that more and more people can jump on the train and be a part of it with us, whether as a customer, as an employee, whatever it might be. It's going to be a good time. So, yeah. Any other thoughts? Anything else on your mind before we wrap it up?
Good. Appreciate it
Cool.
again.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me here. Pleasure to be of service, not just to Standard Fluids, but the customers.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so that'll wrap up the Splashcast podcast episode with Jonathan. Again, we're a dynamic team at Standard Fluids. Having Jonathan on will almost conclude having everyone record a podcast episode. So we're I think one step closer. I think we just got to record one. Well, with Kamal and Conrad, I think they're the last two that we'll have to record with. And yeah, this is the team of people that you can go to and rely on and get everything that you need. We can do it here at Standard Fluids, and we hope that these valuable insights into our team are critical, and we hope that it gives you more confidence to do business with us and become a partner with us. If you have any questions, like I said, regarding logistics and how our team is there to best meet your needs and deliver product wherever you are in the world, really wherever you are in the world, please reach out to Jonathan, reach out to myself, get in touch with us through our website. Jonathan's email is simple. It's just Jonathan, Jonathan, at standardfluids.com. And you can send Jonathan an email. He's always eager to help out and be there. And likewise, you can get in touch with me, ND Mackey at standardfluids.com. And I'm able to help direct your questions, queries, in whatever direction you may need. But that'll wrap up the Splashcast. So thanks so much for listening.
thank you
And
guys. Yep.
yeah, and as always, Standard Fluids remains here to be provide the solutions you need from the people you trust. So thanks for listening, and look forward to tuning in next time.